Hey friends, very quick monologue breakdown for you of Julius Caesar's "I could be well moved if I were as you." This one was a request and it's taken me a while, so I'm trying to get through it as fast as I can, and so it's a little bit more of a casual video here. So I want to look first at Caesar's character, because the character is the key to this monologue. We know that Caesar has a big ego. This monologue is all about ego in a sense, because he's talking about how he is the only fixed point around people that are always moving. Basically, that he is the strongest, the strongest element anywhere. He's kind of putting himself above and away from everyone around him. So it's full of ego, but Caesar is an interesting character because you don't necessarily need to play him as having a huge ego. It's definitely sort of egotistical, but you could take it as more like very high self-worth. So there's a difference here from playing, for example, someone that's like, you know what, I am like the North Star in the sky and you're all little ants, versus like, I know my worth and I am strong and I don't move, and I'm sorry that I don't move, but I'm not going to move. So that's kind of what you're looking at here, is the scale of ego versus self-worth. So I want you to think about that, and I want you to think about subtext too. Subtext is what is going to take your monologue from like okay kind of monologue to that is good acting. When Caesar is talking, there are a bunch of people around him and he feels differently about all of those people. He's also a leader and, an army general. So he is someone that's going to be sizing up, the competition, the enemy that may be right in front of him, as well as all of the environment around him. So I would recommend that you think about, what is he seeing around him and what is he reacting to? And particularly when he's speaking different parts of the monologue, who is that kind of targeted at? Because he's already kind of explained that Cassius, he's a bit suspicious of. He would be suspicious of other people as well. Brutus, he's not suspicious of. So think about, at each kind of point in the monologue, is this line delivered to someone that he's suspicious of? And if so, how does that color the line? Versus, how do you sound when you're talking to someone that you trust? So always think about, who is this targeted at each point? So as always, I recommend that you do some scene work with a partner. Have your partner firstly pretend to be Cassius, and what happens if you direct that entire monologue at Cassius? What feels good, what works, what doesn't? Then have your partner pretend to be Brutus. What happens if you direct the entire monologue at Brutus? It's going to color things in different ways, and from doing those kinds of experiments, you can figure out what's going to make each line the most interesting. I would say it's going to be a bit of a mix. It might be, I'm speaking this line to Brutus, I'm speaking this line to Cassius, and this is more of a general to everybody kind of feel, because some of it as well is him playing the game and, pleasing the masses, or can be. So it's up to you. I'm going to jump into the monologue breakdown in a minute, but I want to talk about a couple of things that are in the text that are kind of useful for you to play on. The use of the word moved means to be like affected by someone, to be swayed, or to be impacted by someone, especially by someone asking you to do something or asking you to change something. This word is used so many times throughout the whole play. If you bring out a copy of Julius Caesar, like on your computer, and you do a search for the word moved, you're going to see it pop up over and over again. So it's an important word. Why? This play, I think, and particularly in this monologue, we see it play what happens if people don't change. Being moved by someone or something is about being human. It's about being affected by the humans around you and what's happening to people around you. Brutus is sort of immovable in his own way, in that he sort of has a very sort of structured idea of the world, and he's concerned about dictatorship, and because he's kind of inflexible about, you know, how he wants things to be, he takes this action that leads to Caesar's death, and that is, you know, maybe good, maybe bad, we don't know. Then for Caesar, he's someone that won't be moved, and he says so in this monologue. He is outright saying, I won't be affected by you, I can't be. And that's a really powerful thing to admit, and also I think scary. It's scary to hear someone say, I'm not going to be affected by your hardship, I'm not going to take pity on you. I think it's useful to think about what might have happened if he'd said, yeah, that's fine, he can come back in. Because I wonder if maybe Brutus would have been like, you know what, we don't need to kill him, you know, like, look, he's human. He's going to listen to us. He's not going to be a dictator. But in this moment, he chooses and he shows that he is immovable. He's not actually going to listen. And I think that's a scary thing. So that can affect your acting in the sense of thinking about how people are reacting at different points. Does it have any impact on Caesar? Does it not? But generally, I think it's just a good thing to think about how important this monologue is, in that he's choosing to be immovable, and that affects, you know, he ends up dying because he can't move. The other thing I want you to notice in the text, not just the word moved, but also the use of I, over and over again. I this, I that, I this, I that, and it's all on heavy stresses. So if we know iambic pentameter kind of goes da-dun, 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 da-dun. Every time he kind of goes da-dum, the heavy one, it's often the word I, even at the beginning. So he's got, if I could pray to move, prayers would move me. But I am constant as the northern star. Now, of course, we're not saying it like this in performance, but what this actually tells us is the emphasis on I, the ego, right? So this might feed into, depending on how egotistical on your scale you decided to be. If it's the really big ego and you want to play that big ego, you're going to emphasize that I, make that big. I am this, I am that, make that big. If he's more on the kind of more human scale or more on the self-worth scale, the moved is going to be more important. He's going to say, well, I wish I could be moved, but I can't. Let's jump really quickly into a monologue breakdown. He starts with, I could be well moved if I were as you. If I could pray to move, prayers would move me. So what he's saying there, kind of explained already, is that if I were just a human being, like little old you, I could be changed by what you're saying. If I were the sort of person that could plead with someone else, so when you're saying pray to move, he's talking about, I think, that if I'm the sort of person that could, you know, go and plead to someone else and beg them to change, then I would be the sort of person that could be changed by these sorts of words. It's a very roundabout way of saying it, but hopefully that's clear enough. If not, drop me a comment. But I am constant as the northern star. Now this is big language. Imagine comparing yourself to a star. This is not something I've done in my own life, so it takes a certain amount of ego there, yep. Of whose true fixed and resting quality there is no fellow in the firmament. So he's talking about the quality that the northern star has of staying in the night sky when all the other stars are moving around, which he goes into more detail about in the next bit. So the skies are painted with unnumbered sparks. So the sky is full of stars. They are all fire, and every one doth shine. So he's saying, you know, the sky is full of stars and they're all made of the same thing. They all look the same essentially, but there's only one. This is the next bit. But there's but one in all doth hold his place. There's only one that stays still. All the rest of them move. So in the world. So he's saying it's the same thing in the world with people. 'Tis furnished well with men, there are heaps of men everywhere, and men of flesh and blood, they're all made of the same thing, and apprehensive. Yet in the number I do know but one, that unassailable holds on his rank, beg your pardon. So he's saying in all of this earth, all the people on this earth, I only know one person that holds his rank. I think is more about, less about his army rank and more about holding his strength, holding his position when he's being assailed, when he's being attacked. Unshaked of motion. So again, the idea of motion, movement, being affected by others is kind of the subtext going on here. And that I am he. Let me a little show it even in this. So the person I'm talking about was me, and I'm going to demonstrate it here. That I was constant, Simba should be banished. So I said it before, and constant do remain to keep him so. I'm not changing my mind. I hope that was helpful for you there. In May, I'm going to be doing heaps of Julius Caesar videos because I've had lots of requests. So I think May is going to be Julius Caesar month. So let me know what you want to see and hear about Julius Caesar. Oh, and before I go, my friend Tim Nance on YouTube has just dropped a bunch of Julius Caesar videos. So you want to look at Tim Nance Shakespeare and it will pop up for you. He will help you through the play if you're not familiar. And also I want to recommend, there are a couple of different versions that you can see. The Donmar Warehouse version of Julius Caesar, which is an all-female version set in a, sorry about the lighting, the sun just came like, it's set in a prison. That is awesome and it has a very sort of contemporary feel to it. And also the National Theatre at Home platform has just released their Julius Caesar, which was a collaboration with Bridge Theatre, and it has Ben Whishaw and, Wishaw, I think, and David Morrissey. It's a really good production. It feels very vital and I really like the kind of military element that happens in that. So I would recommend both of those if you're getting to know the play. That's all for me. See you guys next time. Bye. So much sun. Blech.